As coastal Texas cleaned up from Hurricane Harvey and recovery efforts continued, the storm shifted its attention to Houston, bringing intense rainfall that threatened historic flooding as freeways turned into rivers and water rushed into homes. Amid predictions that as much as 50 inches of rain could fall, the water rose so high that people were advised to climb to their roofs rather than take refuge in attics, unless they had an axe or means to break through. Heavy rains were predicted to linger for several days. The National Weather Service, NWS, issued a flash flood emergency warning and said catastrophic flooding in the Houston metropolitan area is expected to worsen and could become historic. More than 6.5 million people live in the region. Cars were abandoned as stranded residents tweeted rescue requests to Ed Gonzalez, the Harris County Sheriff. "We need help, it's like 12 adults and 10 toddlers," one said. Several deaths were reported. Gonzalez reported on Twitter that a woman and child had died in a submerged vehicle on Interstate 10. The deaths were not confirmed, because the location was unreachable. Texas Governor Greg Abbott told CBS he was not capable at this time of confirming the number of fatalities caused by the hurricane. In an indication of just how high water was rising in some neighborhoods, local officials advised residents to go onto their roofs and call for help if necessary, though 911 services were said to have been at capacity before dawn. Have reports of people getting into attic to escape floodwater. Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo tweeted, "Do not do so unless you have an axe or means to break through onto your roof." At an afternoon press conference, Abbott said 3,000 National Guard and State Guard troops had been activated, and 500 vehicles and 14 aircraft put into service. There were 250 highway closures around Texas, he said. Among hundreds of rescues, police evacuated 2 apartment complexes in the Greens Point neighborhood, saving more than 50 children. The U.S. Coast Guard reported more than 300 requests for urban search and rescue in the Houston area. 5 Coast Guard helicopters were working and New Orleans was asked to send more. At a Sunday press conference, Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner said more than 2,000 emergency calls had been received and more shelters, which he called lily pads, would be opening. Turner defended his decision not to call for an evacuation ahead of the flooding, citing likely traffic gridlock. "If you think the situation right now is bad and you give an order to evacuate," he said, "you are creating a nightmare." The NWS said on Sunday morning the Houston area had received 24.1 inches of measured rain in 24 hours, sending water levels soaring in the bayous that meander through the core of the city. Some areas were expected to receive as much as 7 inches of rain in an hour. Speaking to CBS, Donald Trump's Homeland Security and Counterterrorism Advisor, Tom Bossert, said, "We're going to see continued rain, upwards of 30 inches. I don't think people understand what 30 inches of rain is. I've been around dozens and dozens of major disasters and hurricanes, hundreds of disasters. I've never seen 30 inches of rain." Later, NWS meteorologist Patrick Burke said rainfall totals would end up around 40 inches or more for Houston on average, but some isolated spots would hit or exceed 50 inches, or more than 4 feet. That would exceed all state rainfall records. Abbott told CNN, "Those bayous will continue to rise. Those rescue missions will continue. Do not get out onto the road. Make a plan where you can elevate in your own home or find a place of safety." The governor said he had asked Trump to add Harris County, which covers Houston, to the federal disaster declaration signed on Friday, releasing funds. The president tweeted his thoughts from Camp David. He would visit Texas, he wrote, "as soon as the trip can be made without causing disruption. The focus must be life and safety." Abbott later said the president's visit could come as soon as Tuesday. Harvey made landfall on the Texas coast on Friday night as a Category 4 hurricane with 130 miles per hour winds, the most powerful to hit the U.S. since 2004. And wrought destruction on Corpus Christi and the small towns of Rockport and Port Aransas. At least 1 person died in Rockport and more than 300,000 lost power. Harvey weakened to a Category 1, then tropical storm status. But rotating bands of rain began to pummel the Houston area, some 200 miles northeast. Houston is one of the country's most flood-prone cities, with thousands of homes on floodplains and next to bayous and creeks. The city endured severe storms in 2015 and 2016 that caused loss of life and widespread damage. Harvey's effects are likely to be even worse. The city is also home to large oil industry facilities, dangerously vulnerable to flooding. On Sunday, ExxonMobil, Petrobras and Shell said they were shutting refineries in the area, and Chevron Phillips said it was shutting its Cedar Bayou petrochemical complex. Bacon Nelson, executive director of Air Alliance Houston, said in a statement such shutdowns would release pollutants, and added, "Harvey is also a threat to the air we breathe." The NWS issued 37 tornado warnings for Houston on Saturday and 35 on Friday, and small tornadoes damaged structures. More warnings came early on Sunday, but water was clearly the primary threat. On Sunday, the water outside Sheila Thoreau's West Houston townhouse rose sharply, to knee height. "It's over the pavement," she said by phone. "It's just one sheet of water from a hedge on one side of the road to the other side." A couple of hours later, the 90-year-old British-born widow was set to be rescued by boat. "There are people swimming down the street," she told her daughter, with the phlegmatic attitude for which her homeland is known. "I'm fine. I can swim." From his 13th-floor apartment near downtown, Damian Balais told The Guardian his usual, enviable view of parkland on the banks of the Buffalo Bayou had gone. "It's basically a lake," he said. A cemetery had flooded. Highways were completely submerged. "Bridges across the bayou are nearly all covered," he said, adding that the flood was super high, a line of treetops poking out above muddy water. "It's still raining," he added.